career guidance webinar. 3MEM is working to help our youngsters to flourish in education. Our first webinar was on the career guidance on the medicine and dentistry, which was well attended. And this is in the same series to help the youngsters. And as you know, with the Social Mobility Commission report, which suggests that particularly the Asians or the Muslims, parents and the youngsters lacks the knowledge to assess to their career guidance and information about the networking and also the career choices. And sometimes they make not the right choices or not on the right time. So 3MEM visualized this and anticipated this problem, and we take as on the board to help our youngsters, particularly our Muslim brothers and sisters. So this is in the series a second talk, and this is on the accounting. And we have two wonderful presenters, Tawaf Tariq, and who has a very wealth of experience, almost 14 years across the industry. He's a qualified chartered certified accountant. And we have other brother who is also named Tawaf, but he's Muhammad Tawaf, and he is also a 16-year experience in UK banking, finance, and insurance sector. So I will, without any delay, I will ask Tawaf, Brother Tawaf Tariq, to start his presentation and guide the children and the youths and the parents on this important career. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tariq. Thank you very much for that. I'll just go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully this works. We've tested it already. Right, I think we're good to go. Bismillah, welcome to everybody who's tuned in. My name is Tawaf Tariq, as Dr. Tariq just cited. I'm a chartered certified accountant, and hopefully this is of benefit. So let's get straight into it. Let's start from the bare bones. What is accounting? What exactly is it? So accounting is the discipline of reporting on the financial activity, the financial position of typically a business. It could be any organization, but usually accounting is quite synonymous with business entities, companies, corporations, things like that. Although other organizations like charities, government bodies, they also have accounts produced as well. Essentially, any organization that has money coming in, money coming out can have its accounts produced. So I tend to demarcate accounting into two main categories. Or just for, this is not set in stone, it's just for the purposes of understanding. So you have historic activity and you have future activity, and I'll go into this shortly in a bit more. But essentially, but at a fundamental level, accounting is the reporting of financial activity. There are other areas within accounting that stem from that, such as tax reporting. I'm sure many people will be aware of tax return submissions, auditing, where the accounts of a business, let's just use a business as an example, are audited. In a sense, they are checked for correctness, completeness, accuracy. Advisory services and analysis of the business's financial performance, historic and or future. So if we carry on. So accounting as a career, it's a highly skilled profession. The training regimen is fairly extensive. It spans, tends to span a number of years, anywhere between 4 to 7 years, depending on how you actually, or what path you actually go down. it's a profession that accountants are deemed in society as trustworthy people, trustworthy professionals. They are recognised professionals, and one of the key reasons for that is very much in a similar vein as, say, a lawyer whose client will divulge the most confidential information or intimate details about himself or herself to their lawyer. In exactly the same vein, an accountant's client, whether it be a client an internal client or an external client, will divulge the most confidential financial information and financial details to an accountant, with the expectation that the accountant will act in confidence and will not divulge any financial information to anybody, really, unless under extenuating circumstances. But generally, the point is that's why accountants are viewed as they are viewed, and that accountants are always in demand, which is a good thing for those of us who are accountants and work as accountants. It's as simple as that. Accountants are always in demand as long as there are legal requirements for reporting accounts to the government, to a filing body such as Companies House, or to HMRC. There will always be a demand for accountants. With regards to career paths into accounting, once you're qualified, just to say one thing about accounting. So, unlike to qualify as an accountant, there are professional bodies, which I'll go into in a moment. There are professional bodies who bestow upon an individual, once that individual has performed and carried out all the requirements of membership to a given professional body, professional accounting body, then there are two broad career paths to get to that stage, and that's what I will go into shortly. So the main accounting bodies, ACCA, Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, they have a global reach. They're responsible for providing training programs or to adjudicate upon training programs by people who register with them in order to qualify. Yeah, the ICAEW, whose jurisdiction is in England and Wales, the Institute of Chartered Accountants for England and Wales. Then in Scotland, they have their own body, the Institute of Chartered Accountants Scotland. All of these bodies, they have very similar membership requirements and very similar prospects once you qualify. So the two main pathways to accounting. The first one I will go into is the school pathway. So as accounting is sometimes regarded as a vocational discipline, and what I mean by that is that, unlike, for example, say dentistry or engineering, for example, where you go to university, you have to go to university, or like medical school, for example, you have to go there because of the tangible resources that are required in order to train individuals up. The school pathway into accounting allows you to leave school at the age of 16 or 17 or even 18 and go straight into the working world and literally become employed as an accounting apprentice with a firm of accountants. and start literally from the absolute bottom up, start a training program with them. The employer will support the individual in question. One of the benefits of this pathway is that you immediately start to gain experience of the working world. Those of us who have gone to university and completed degrees and then gone into working life, I'm pretty sure you'll all agree with me that it's a very different life going from university into the working world. So with the school leaver route, you start to gain experience straight away. You don't start earning a lot of money, but you start earning. Frankly, you don't as we all know, in this day and age, unlike in the 1990s where university education was absolutely free, now you have £9,000 per year tuition fees on top of the loans that the student loan company give to undergraduates and postgraduate, or undergraduates primarily, for the purposes of living expenses. If you go to university now, you come out with a certain amount of debt. So the benefit of the school pathway is that you forego any debt, you go into the working world, and you start gaining experience. And at the end of the training regime, you have a graduate role. So the contract will be set up with the employer, so that once you've completed the training, you have a ready-made, so to speak, graduate role at completion. Many times, I'm going to be talking about in the next few minutes about the ACCA. Before, when we were talking about various accounting bodies. I mean, I qualified as an ACCA accountant, so I'm intimately familiar with the ACCA qualifications. So I'll be talking about that. But oftentimes, to bridge that gap, if you're going into the working world, to bridge that gap between kind of GCSE level and university graduation level, that kind of area of your kind of learning career, learning stage of your life. Many employers will oftentimes enroll individuals onto an AAT program, which builds up the foundational elements of the accounting requirements that you then later on actually do need to complete in order to qualify as an accountant with one of the professional bodies. If you do go down the school pathway, school leaver pathway, then my advice, and in preparation, I'll just say, in preparation for this presentation, naturally we all know members of our professions, people we work with, for example, or people you tend to gravitate towards people in the same profession. I spoke to and sought any kind of tips or further advices from a number of accountants, 4 or 5 accountants, one key advice that was coming back is that if you leave school at the age of 16, 17, 18, say, then if you can at all, then try to apply for and secure a role, a training role with one of the big 4 accounting and auditing firms. Now, these big 4 firms are they are the biggest accounting firms in the world by not just by in terms of headcount, but in terms of revenue and in terms of scope. They have a global exposure in most territories in the world. They'll have offices and operations from Australia through to the Middle East, through to the Far East, to North America, South America. So these are PricewaterhouseCoopers, Ernst & Young, KPMG, and Deloitte. One of the benefits, and even if you qualify as at any stage, if you qualify as an accountant, it's good to have on your CV, frankly. If you've undergone a training contract with one of these four, and you have that on your CV, it's a boost to your CV. So I'll put that out there. The benefits of those four firms is that you have exposure to a wide variety of clients, from small businesses to large international businesses to governments to public bodies. It's really you get an incredible amount of exposure to all sorts of entities. If you can't get into one of these big four, then try to get into the top 10 accounting firms. In 2020, currently, this does change now and again, and even the big four, the top four, which are the big four, they're the same four. They swap places around now and again. But the top 10 firms currently, the four I just mentioned. Then you also have BDO, Grant Thornton, RSM, Crowe Horwath, Nexia International, and Baker Tilly. And these are names. These lists you can get off the internet. To help you there. So that's if you leave school, you go into a training contract. An employer, a firm of accountants, will employ you, train you from the bottom up all the way to a qualified accountant, and that's that. The other pathway to qualifying as an accountant, the graduate scheme, for want of a better phrase. So with this, you finish your A-levels. I'm sure many are aware today has been a results day for A-level students. Just a congratulations to everybody who have completed those exams. Finish A-levels, go to university, and enroll onto a degree program. Now, at these ages of 17, 18, it's very important to consider that you're making decisions at that stage that have an impact on the rest of your life, or at the rest of your working life, rather. So either you may be, and there's never a right answer to this. Either you know exactly what you want to do. You say, for whatever reason, you say you have another relative in the family who's an accountant, and you've just been sold on the idea, or for any other reason. If you know for a fact you want to do accounting, you want to become an accountant, then you can go into, you can study an accounting degree, or an accounting and finance degree, or some combination of those two subjects. If you have a fair idea that you may have a fair idea that you want to study, or you want to become, you want to go into the accounting career, then that's fine. You can go in, you can enroll onto, say, an accounting degree, or an accounting finance degree, etc. It still gives you options. It absolutely gives you options. If, for example, you have no idea, and you have absolutely no idea, you're at the age of 18, you're thinking, right, I'm going into university, I need to select a university degree, what do I do? And you may have absolutely no idea. And again, that is also a right answer. You can then do, pretty much most degrees, really. I mean, I'll from my own experience, I did a computer science degree, so nothing relating to accounting. I have a colleague who did a chemistry degree. You may do a maths degree or a physics degree. If you go into university, doing an accounting degree, it will very much help you. Absolutely, it will provide you exemptions for the ACCA exams that I'll come on to in a few moments. If you don't do an accounting related degree, you may still get an exemption, or you may not, and that's fine as well. So I just wanted to give you a few thoughts in terms of if you're thinking about going to university, and you're thinking about what degree do I want to enroll. In the context of an accounting career, those are just some thoughts. So you've gone to university, so you've done a 3-year bachelor's degree in anything, in whatever degree you enrolled on. You come out of that to embark on the accounting requirements journey. You want to register with the professional body, for example, the ACCA, you register with them. And it's a very simple process, very simple application process. There's no requirements really. You do have to select, you have to choose that I'm enrolling onto the graduate scheme, because what that means is that the ACCA will look at you and say, right, you're a university graduate, fine. You don't need to do the AAT or anything like that, for example. You can go straight onto the, you can embark straight upon the actual ACCA requirements program and start from there. And it's a good idea to it's a very good idea to look for graduate positions. So once you're finishing university, you want to be applying for graduate positions in an accounting firm, or in industry, in a corporation, in a company. Try to seek graduate roles, because what they will do, they will support you. They will see you coming in as a university graduate who is wanting to qualify as an accountant, and they will have some form of a program already in place, a structured program to support you on that journey to qualification. So basically, you're looking at a situation where you're working and you're studying to qualify. So the requirements, so for the ACCA, the membership, the ultimate objective to qualify as an accountant, to qualify as a member of the professional body, which is what it means to qualify as an accountant. So what are the membership requirements? When I did it, it was 14 exams. Currently, I checked it, it's 13 exams. It looks like they've amalgamated a couple of elements from 2 subjects into 1 subject. So you have 13 exams. So let me just say a few words about these exams. When I finished my university degree, I thought to myself, gosh, do I really want to be doing exams ever again? Exams, as I'm sure, people have come out, these people, any of you who have carried SAT exams, GCSE exams, A-level exams, or university exams, they are a significant piece of work. The time that goes into it, the study that goes into it, the dedication, frankly, that goes into studying for exams. 13 exams, if you think about it, you're looking at a situation where you're not just studying for the exams, you're working as well. So that's why on a previous slide, I noted that it could take a number of years for you to finish the program of exams. Just on the exams, they are with the ACCA, they're categorized into 3 broad categories. You've got a fundamentals level of exams, which literally they take you through the bread and butter of the accounting principles, accounting theory, profit and loss accounts, balance sheets, cash flows, management accounts. Management accounts is more for internal reporting. Financial accounting is more for external reporting. So there's a lot of information to read up on this. So I'm mindful if I'm going through these items, and you might be thinking, what's he talking about? That's by all means ask questions at the end, or there's resources for further research. So the exams, that's on the exams. We also have to complete a ethics and professional skills module. And at the beginning, when I was saying that accountants are viewed as it's a recognized profession, accountants are trusted, it's because when we go through this training program, this study program, a significant element of it is to go through ethics, confidentiality, professionalism. So there's a reason for that. Then practical experience requirements. This is why working and studying for an accounting qualification, it literally goes hand in hand, because you need to be studying, you need to be passing those exams, and you also need to be fulfilling and completing a number of practical experience requirements. And you can only do that when you're working, when you're in employment. So that's where this comes in, the practical experience requirements. You need to have a minimum of 36 months worth of relevant work experience. And this doesn't have to be a contiguous amount of time. This can be broken up. You can do 15 months, 18 months of work experience in accounting. I don't know, go off traveling, say, for 6 months, come back and do another 18 months working again. So in totality, you have to have 36 months worth of relevant work experience. You have to, you are required to complete 9 performance objectives, and these, again, unfortunately, we don't have the time to go into them at this stage, but they can be found out very easily. And there are certain performance objectives. So it's for ACCA to see that you can demonstrate that you have demonstrated certain skill sets in your work time. So there's a lot more that can be said about that, but there's 9 performance objectives. And all the practical experience requirements are to be signed off by a practical experience supervisor. So typically, when you're working in an accounting firm or wherever you're working, you'll have someone the organization themselves, they know that they have to sign these things off. So they'll allocate someone, a supervisor or mentor, to sign off all these requirements. Sometimes it's your line manager, it can be someone else as well. So just a few other considerations before I hand over to brother Dosif, the other brother Dosif. A couple of options to consider also is before going to university, so between the time of A-levels and going to university, you may want to take a gap year to go and experience working life. You may want to go and work as in an accounting firm for that 1 year before you go on to university, just to get a flavour for it. It's always a good idea to try something out. You're going to potentially be investing a significant amount of time, effort into the requirements that I just went through earlier in order to qualify as an accountant. So it's an option to consider to go and do a gap year. Some university degree programs actually allow you to do the same thing, but within the university degree program as a placement year. So you may do 2 years, you may do year 1, year 2 of a university degree, and then in the 3rd year, you have a placement year where you go and work in the real world with an employer. and then you come back in year 4 and you finish the degree off. So that's that. And in terms of study resources, with ACCA, you have 2 primary study resource publishers, Kaplan and BPP. The other accounting bodies will have their own preferred resources, text publishers as well, of study texts and practice exam paper texts. The accounting bodies that I mentioned, I mentioned them. There's also the Chartered Institute of Public Finance Accountants, which is something to consider as well. That's when you go to work as an accountant within government, within councils. So that's something to consider as well. I hope I haven't gone through this too quickly. I wanted to cover off these things. Hopefully, inshallah, it's of benefit. And I will now, that's me done. So I will now stop sharing my slides and pass over to Brother Muhammad Tasif, who will take over.
Thanks, Brother Tasif Tariq. So I'm going to request, actually, Brother Rafiq, if you could kindly share my last 2 slides, please. Right, okay. I would like to connect from the point where Brother Tasif Tariq has actually left. However, I would like to take steps back in terms of what exactly courses you need to select, and you have to then end up finding your career path in finance side of it. So, mashallah, Brother Tasif has actually covered a lot about the accounting side of it. So let me try and if I can try my best to sell you finance side of it now. So the basic thing within the degree where you have to be careful in terms of the courses selection. So if you are actually in a bachelor degree and you are coming up to last couple of years where you have to select a few courses and then you're not sure what path you're going to adopt in your future. So of course, one is the accounting side of it. So you need to select those courses which can give you certain exceptions when you need to do ACCA afterwards. And the other side of it, then what if you're not interested in accounting and you have to go towards the other side of business, which is the finance. For finance side of it, then of course you need to select those subjects which are going to help in order to select the right career, whether you want to go into banking, insurance, investment management, or corporate banking side of it. It all depends. So I know there are certain restrictions that you can only select certain courses, modules within your last couple of years, but this is critical. So on that point, I would like to actually give a bit background about myself. So since I have done actually a BBA, which is Bachelor in Business Administration, and that was actually specialized in IT instead of finance or accounting, then I had to a little bit struggle to get the right level of career, because my actual specialty was going towards the IT side of it. But I knew at that time I wasn't that good in IT. So, however, a couple of modules which I selected in the third and fourth year of my actually BBA, they helped me to select my further higher education and career towards finance. Just to mention, it depends what actually modules you're going to get offered within the universities. Some of them are corporate finance, investment finance, international finance. These are the main modules. If you select, then that means going forward in future, if you end up going into any financial side of it, like in financial sector instead of accounting sector, then these modules will definitely help. So this is where you have to make a decision. I think that is critical to make a right decision. For example, if you want to go into investment banking or a corporate banking side of it, then it's important that you have selected those relevant courses in your bachelor degree. Okay, so on the other side of it, what if you haven't had any bachelor degree in accounting and finance, can you still go into a financial sector? The answer is yes. Majority of my colleagues, as I speak, I have been working with them for the last few years. You would be surprised to know they have come from a different background. So a couple of them, I know they have come from a medical side, like they were working in the pharmacies industry. And you would be again surprised to know one of my colleagues, I've been working with him for a few years. He was qualified doctor, but he had enough, I think, from medical side. Then he managed to get his master's degree in finance and moved into financial sector. So, like I said, this is open. You can move into finance career at any time. But in terms of selecting the courses, it is critical that you select the right and relevant courses, which are going to help you in future. Now, how does that help? Now, within a financial career, I think it's quite a wide industry. From my experience, I've been working almost for 14, 15 years. I have, like, my career started in insurance sector back in 2004. Now, ended going into retail banking and now finally in corporate banking. Within actually banking sector, majority of the banks we do see on high streets are retail banks. These are the ones typical where you end up going into the banking branch, a bank's branch, and you end up going opening your current accounts or savings accounts, or the best you can go and you can get, for example, your mortgage or your personal loans. However, on the other side of it, which probably a lot of people, they do understand, but it's not that much common. However, you do believe they are actually big banks and they are based in London. But the majority of those names we find them are actually on high street for just the local branches. So when you're actually going to decide if you need to go into banking sector, my personal advice would be that you need to make sure you don't end up going into that area which involves direct interest dealing. Now, the reason I'm telling you is from my personal experience, and I think it is important to have a right advice. Soon after I finished my degree, I went into insurance side, and when I actually moved from insurance sector to the banking sector, the first option was to go and apply for retail branches. Now, unfortunately, majority of the time you do end up dealing with the direct loan dealings, with direct current and savings accounts dealings, which is sort of like you're selling those products which are actually linked to interest. On the other side is, now, of course, the two school of thoughts, whether actually you should be working in this sector or not. The second school of thought is that unless and until you're not actually dealing directly with interest, you're not selling any product which is attracting towards the earning of interest, then probably it's fine. So that is called, of course, the back office. Now, within back office in banking, there are several departments where you can have actually your fantastic career, basically. Now, of course, when you look into the depth of the banking sector, then you look into investment banking, corporate banking. Of course, corporate banking is, again, quite wide. Investment banking side of it, this provides issuance of different corporate securities, bringing of course, and bringing the investors in the market to purchase and sell their securities. They provide different trading platforms for securities, and also they advise different corporations in terms of what's the best they can actually select the products in terms of investments and loans. And of course, then another element is the high net worth clients. So this is the area where you can have your actually career in the investment banking side of it. Now, then there is within the banking sector and also in a financial advice side of it, it's called financial planning. Now, financial planning is more sort of related to financial advice. So, for example, if few people, they got like millions of pounds and they don't know what to do with it, and they want to invest. However, they don't want to invest into risky products. So then that means they need to approach someone who can advise. For this sort of advice, you will identify within banking sector, there are special financial advisors. Now, how do you become a financial advisor? Being honest to you, just a degree, bachelor degree or a master degree won't help you to become the financial advisor. Why is that? Because there are certain requirements you have to actually meet to become the certified financial planner, to become certified financial advisor. And this has been done at the back of a certain financial crisis the whole world has actually seen over the period. And every country, and especially developed countries, they have got their very strong regulators. For example, within the UK, we have a Financial Conduct Authority. It's a very powerful regulator. So they had actually laid out certain rules and regulations for the banks and for the financial institutions that before you advise anyone, whether it's an entity or corporate or any individual person, you need to make sure that you have the qualified, relevant people to provide the advice. In order to become the financial advisor, a certified financial advisor, you need to pass certain exams. And again, from my experience, what I have learned, though actually I had done the bachelor degree in business administration, then master degree in business administration, and then I've done another master degree in financial management with economics. And you would be surprised to know that, unfortunately, until I joined the banking sector and I was technically on the field, on the ground, then I came to know I have to complete certain qualifications to become the financial advisor. For that, I had then completed a diploma, which is Diploma in Financial Planning. That was actually done through a body called a CII, which is Chartered Institute of Insurance. So that actually gave me certain credits to become a certified financial advisor. From becoming a certified financial advisor, when I came to know, unfortunately, I have to deal with those products which are pretty much related to sort of interest-based. Actually, I gave a second thought and I said, okay, I need to move away. I can't actually deal with these kind of products myself. This was my personal choice, by the way. Then I ended up going into the investment side of it. Now, investment banking or investment firms, or you call it funds management firms, to enter into those actually firms for actually a successful career, again, you have to have certain qualifications. You can actually get into a certain career path without these actually qualifications from these certified or chartered bodies, but you will be struggling. What I mean to say, you may end up going into the front office, doing their more sort of admin jobs, but you will struggle to actually progress up the ladder. In order to actually do so, there are actually certain other actually bodies which they offer a certain diplomas, certain certificates, which you can do after you have actually completed your bachelor degree or whilst you're on the job, or you even can do these once you're doing your bachelor degree. If you have the finance available to you, or you have the time and you have the interest to actually get these financial qualifications from these certified bodies, then probably I think that is a kind of a plus for you, that you are actually ahead of other people. If you have not actually done those financial qualifications and you want to do it whilst you are actually in your career, it's still fine, but then that means you still need certain time period to complete them, and then you have to compete with your other actually colleagues as well. So anyway, referring back to the point, then I actually moved my career from financial advice into the corporate banking side of it. Within corporate banking, again, you have certain departments where, again, from person to person, you may not find easy because they're actually dealing with the interest side of it, and you want to rather actually work in the back office, in the background. they are actually different divisions. So for example, compliance department is one. Within compliance department, you're not dealing directly with the products, rather actually you're dealing with the regulatory side of it, where banks or the financial institutions, they have to comply with the regulatory requirements in order to make sure once they actually keep their license going, and two, they're not going to get fined by the regulators. So compliance is very actually, I would say, powerful department within banking and financial sector. How can you get into a compliance department? Brother, if you can just move on to the next slide, I can actually pinpoint certain bodies where you can get certain qualifications. So here I have actually mentioned, of course, about FCA, which we have already talked about it, and then CII, Chartered Institute of Insurance. They provide actually more qualification towards the financial side of it or insurance underwriting side of it. Then the fourth bullet point I have written over here is ICA, which is the International Compliance Association. So this body actually provides different qualifications which covers certain areas which are very much relevant to compliance and regulatory side. For example, diploma in compliance, diploma in anti-money laundering. So these diplomas, or there are certain certificates as well, they will help you if you want to actually progress your career in compliance or regulatory side of it. Other than compliance department within the banking sector, the second division, which is very much hot at the moment, probably you guys have must have actually heard a lot in the news as well, that certain banks have been fined because they could not actually meet the regulatory requirements for the KYC, which is know your customer. And then, and of course, at the background, it's all about the money laundering. What it means basically, that a lot of banks and financial institutions over the last couple of decades, they had a pretty much, I would say, easy hands in terms of dealing the money. And unfortunately, their controls and their systems and processes and procedures, they were not that much stringent that they could actually stop the money laundering, or they could actually identify the money laundering in timely manner. Hence, big banks, big financial institutions have been fined in millions. You must have heard about big examples such as HSBC was actually fined, I think, $3.2 billion back in the days. Very recently, one of the German banks has been fined $few hundred million by FCA now. And the only reason behind it was they had loose or poor controls in place from money laundering perspective. So within these financial institutions now, these departments were either very tiny or almost none to existence. But now over the last few years, they have actually established to pretty much a very actually high scale. Over the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years, these financial institutions have been relying on the temporary workforce, such as like we call it the contractors. But now they have moved, or they have been forced to move to have a permanent department. For example, in the institution I'm working in, 3 years back, there were like only 2 permanent staff members. And now at the moment, only 1 branch in London, and we have got almost 80 permanent staff members. So that is another area where after you have graduated and you had certain professional qualifications, you can move into. And most likely, and most of the times, these departments are called as actually KYC departments or anti-money laundering departments or anti-fraud departments. Different banks have given different names, but this is another area where you can definitely develop your career. And then there's another actually department within the financial institution and the banking side of it, which is called front office. Now, within the corporate banking side of it and investment side of it, the front office is like the best example I can quote over here is just like when you go into the any retail bank branch and you want to open your account and you see someone at the counter and you provide you actually basic information to open an account. So the person you're facing is kind of a front office person. So he's the one who's going to actually deal with your application. He's the one who's going to ask you to fill in the relevant boxes in the application form and going to ask you to provide certain ID documents. So, but this is the basic example I'm quoting over here. But whereas if you go into corporate banking or investment banking, the front office people are dealing with big entities, big corporate clients. So, for example, they're trying to onboard Volkswagen because they need a loan in billions, or they're trying to onboard government entities because government ultimately need actually loans for could be for hospitals, could be for building roads. So the career in front office is for this specific department is still actually attractive. I would say you do find different challenges. You're dealing with I would say big companies. You're dealing with quite actually big products. The loans you're talking about are not actually small amount of loans. They are massive loans. The products you're dealing with are very much specialized products. Of course, for a lot of people, when you're going through the graduation program, you are actually learning a lot about the corporate banking or investment banking or corporate finance. But in reality, when you go into the practical field, you find a simple loan versus a syndicate loan, which is a complex loan. So if you have done certain qualifications through these professional bodies, for example, CISI, the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments, they offer different programs, different certificates, different diplomas. They would help you to understand those complex products. And then once you are actually qualified, then that is kind of a plus point on your CV, which will help you to move into front office for these banks or for these investment management firms. Other than actually corporate banking or investment banking, there are actually loads of investment firms in London. If I've been honest to you, from my career, because I have worked pretty much in all these retail banks and now ended up going into corporate bank and working in London, I have identified that it is true. Yeah, London is financial hub, no doubt about it. We usually see these 4 or 5 big names, RBS, Lloyds, Nationwide, all these names, they always come in our mind when we look into the career side of it. It is true. Of course, the opportunity to get into these 4 or 5 big names is relatively easy because they need more people. However, when you look into now other small firms, relatively small firms, but they still need actually professional people in finance. There are multiple investment firms, funds management firms sitting in London, where they have got actually a back office filled with an average of 40 to 60 employees, permanent staff members working in front office, working in their compliance department, working in their actually KYC department. Because now in each developed country, the financial regulators are actually so much powerful, and they have put so much stringent policies in place that there's no financial institution or any, I would say, a banking or insurance sector that they can work without these professional people with these so much professional qualifications. So from that perspective, I would definitely suggest and recommend, whilst you're going through your graduation programs, please try to spend some time on these financial bodies who are offering different courses. Some of the certificates are very actually cheap. They may be only worth for £400, £500, £600, but having that certificate on your CV whilst you're actually applying for a job will definitely give you an extra edge. In a similar fashion, once you have completed your degree and you have worked with any actually financial institution for a few years and you're struggling to move up the ladder, then please look into these courses. Depending on what interest you have, it will definitely help. And I think towards the end, I would like to just present my own example, and I think it is critical from youth perspective. I don't belong to UK. I only came in 2004, and I already had my actually BBA and MBA degree in my hand. My actually aim was to come here to get the financial education for higher education, to do MSc degree, and pretty much to go back. However, when I actually looked into financial sector in the UK, it did attract me. But then, being honest to you, I didn't have enough advice, career advice, what exactly I should have done at the time to hit these actually big player in the market. And without having any proper career in financial advice and a financial field, at the time, I actually ended up going into an insurance company. And you won't believe I worked for an insurance company for almost 7 years in different departments. And this is the more, I think, critical part of our actually young generation, which I have seen of the last 14 years. It's easy to do a degree, to get a bachelor degree. Ended up having a lot of actually liability on the shoulder in terms of having the loan for the fees and for your actually staying in hostel or in your private accommodation. By the time you end up complete your degree, you have got a lot of liability on your shoulder. And then what I've seen a lot of actually youngsters, they end up going into admin side of it. They end up going and working into basic jobs, such as in a call center, for example, or finding a job in the bank and working as a cashier, or what I mean is more sort of administrative jobs in the financial sector. What they actually don't realize that yes, it's good to have some money, some earnings to pay back your loan and everything, but you're missing that actually golden age when you are energetic, when your brain is working really fast, and you can get these qualifications done quickly. I think that is the right time. Soon after you have done your bachelor degree, you need to take a step. You need to make a move. You have to decide what actually area you're going to target in your life. Is it the banking, insurance, investment? What is it? Then actually select the relevant professional qualification from these bodies. It may actually cost you some money at that time. Ask your parents, look at what you can actually do from your small earnings you're having from part-time job. Get it done in time. And this is the mistake I made at the time. For almost 7 years, I didn't do this qualification. And I ended up working in insurance company for almost 6.5, 7 years, from one department to another. No professional development. No, actually, I couldn't progress up the ladder. It's very difficult. And then at that time, I said, no, okay, I need to look into something. I completed my first professional qualification in 2010-11, and that was through CII. That helped me straight away to move into the financial sector in terms of financial advice. So I ended up working with the financial advisor for a few months. Then I moved on to banking. Then within banking, like I said, then I found, okay, I have to change the field. Then I actually did another diploma through ICA, which was to do with the compliance side of it, more relevant to anti-money laundering. And thereafter, I have done a couple of other actually certificates and diplomas. What I mean to say, don't simply think about it that you've done your bachelor degree and this is enough for you for your financial career. I would say definitely not. Even before you actually decide to do any master degree, look at what you have to do. Do the professional qualification first, and then based on your interest, and then of course work through your career, and then decide what master's degree, if you need to do it, then do it accordingly. Yeah, I think this is it for me, to be honest. I hope this would give you kind of a bit flavor on the financial side of it, what exactly you need to do in terms of the qualification, in terms of your career selection. I hope that would help. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Brother Tosif, Muhammad Tosif, and the Tosif Tariq. You have